Hello. Today my topic is the gifts of wisdom, integrity, honesty and obedience. And we start off by opening our Bibles to Daniel chapter 1. During the 3rd year of King Jehoiakim's reign in Judah, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came to Jerusalem and besieged it. The Lord gave him victory over Judah's king and permitted him to take some of the sacred objects from the temple of God. So Nebuchadnezzar took them back to the land of Babylon and placed them in the treasure house of his God. Then the king ordered his chief of staff to bring to the palace some of the young men of Judah's royal family and other noble families who had been brought to Babylon as captives. Select only strong, healthy and good-looking young men, he said. Make sure they are well versed in every branch of learning and are gifted with knowledge and good judgment and suited to serve in the royal palace. Train these young men in the language and literature of Babylon. The king assigned them a daily ration of food and wine as well from his own kitchen. They were to be trained for 3 years and then they would enter the royal service. Daniel and his 3 companions were 4 of the young men chosen, all from the tribe of Judah. The chief of staff renamed them with these Babylonian names: Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego. Now Daniel was determined not to defile himself by eating the food and wine given to them by the king. He asked the chief of staff for permission not to eat these unacceptable foods. Now God had given the chief of staff both respect and affection for Daniel, but he responded, I'm afraid of my lord the king, who has ordered that you eat this food and wine. If you become pale and thin compared to the other youths your age, I'm afraid the king will have me beheaded. Daniel said, Please test us for 10 days on a diet of vegetables and water. At the end of the 10 days, see how we look compared to the other young men who are eating at the king's table, the food that he's provided. Then make your decision in light of what you see. In Proverbs 21, is a wonderful counsel for all of us, and that is to choose a good reputation over great riches. Being held in high esteem is better than silver and gold. And I'm sure these 4 young men knew that counsel down in their hearts. The attendant agreed to Daniel's suggestion and tested them for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, Daniel and his 3 friends looked healthier and better nourished than the men who had been eating the food assigned by the king. So after that, the attendant fed them only vegetables instead of the food and the wine provided by the king. God gave these 4 young men an unusual attitude for understanding every aspect of literature and wisdom, and God gave Daniel the special ability to interpret the meaning of visions and dreams. When the training period ordered by the king was completed, the chief of staff brought all the young men to King Nebuchadnezzar. The king talked with them, and no one impressed him as much as Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they entered the royal service. Whenever the king consulted them in any matter requiring wisdom and balanced judgment, he found these 4 young men 10 times more capable than any of the magicians and enchanters in his entire kingdom. Daniel remained in the royal service until the first year of the reign of King Cyrus, where we find he is still prophesying about the future. Listen to this advice from King Solomon in Proverbs 22 and verse 6. Parents are encouraged. Train up their children in the way they are to go, and when they are grown up, they will not depart from that way. I love the way Eugene Peterson puts it in the Message, and this is the way he says it. Point your kids in the right direction, and when they are old, they won't be lost. I love that. In the lives of these 4 young men was the evidence of discipline and being taught in the ways of the Lord from childhood, as the king witnessed integrity, honesty, wisdom, and obedience in these 4 young men from Judah. God certainly keeps his promises to faithful parents and people who obey his words that are written in the scriptures. And he promised, build your house. When you are building your house, build it upon the rock, and build your family's life upon that rock, and they will remain steadfast forever. My friends, that rock is Jesus. Then they will go forward quietly, faithfully doing the work that God assigned them. These 4 young men's lives is a testimony to the love, mercy, and grace of God's gifts of transforming them into the likeness of Jesus, fitting them for the kingdom of heaven. Friends, who are you building your family's life on? Jesus is the only rock to build upon. All others are sinking sand, because Jesus is the only one that never sinned. Everyone else living is sinners. But Jesus is that firm foundation that we can build on, and the Holy Spirit will guide us to live the way Jesus did. And as we build upon Jesus, we will remain firm and steadfast as these 4 young men did. So make your decision today to build upon the rock that is firm and that will last forever. And his name is Jesus.